Mark chapter 6. Now he went out from there, Capernaum, and came into his own country, Nazareth, and his students followed him. Then, when the Sabbath day, Saturday, came, he began to teach in the assembly, and the many who heard him were astonished, and said, "Where did this person get these things? And what is this wisdom that has been given to this person? And how can such powerful works occur by means of his hands? And isn't this the craftsman, Mary's son, and the brother of James, Joseph, Jude, and Simon? And aren't his sisters here with us?" Now they were tripping because of him. Then Jesus began saying to them, "A prophet isn't without honor except in his own country, among his relatives, and in his home." Now he couldn't do any powerful work there, except to place his hands on a few who were in poor health and cure them. Now he was marveling because of their unbelief. Then he was going around to the surrounding villages, teaching. Now he called the 12 to him, and began to dispatch them 2 by 2. And he was giving them authority over the unclean spirits. Now he charged them not to pick up anything for the road, except only a staff, no biscuit, no provisions bag, no bronze coins in their money belts, but to put on sandals, and you must not put on 2 gowns. Then he began saying to them, "Wherever you enter into a house, you must stay there until you go out of that place. Whenever a place doesn't welcome you or hear you, you must go out of that place and shake off the dirt underneath your feet as a testimony to them that you have nothing in common with them." Then they went out and proclaimed that people should change their thoughts and feelings. Now they were throwing out many demons, and were massaging many of those in poor health with oil that contained aromatic and or other herb oils, and were curing them. Now Herod heard about him, for his name had become apparent, and was saying, "John the Immerser has been awakened from among the dead, and for this reason powerful works operate in him." Yet others were saying, "He is Elijah." Yet others were saying, "He is a prophet, like one of the prophets of old." Yet when Herod heard these things, he began saying, "John, whom I beheaded, has been awakened." For Herod himself had dispatched orders, and taken hold of John, and bound him in jail, because of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, whom he had married. For John had been saying to Herod, "It isn't allowed for you to have your brother's wife." Now Herodias had it in for him, and was wanting to kill him, and couldn't, because Herod was afraid of John, since he was aware that he was a just and pure man, so he was preserving him. Now when he heard him, he was very perplexed, but was hearing him with pleasure. Then an opportune day came, when Herod at his birthday celebrations made a supper for his important people, colonels, and the most prominent persons of Galilee. Then, when Herodias' daughter entered and danced, she pleased Herod, and those lying back at the table with him. Now the king said to the girl, "You must request whatever you want from me, and I will give it to you." Then he promised with an oath to her that, "Whatever you request from me, I will give you, up to half of my kingdom." So she went out and said to her mother, "What should I request?" Now she said, "The head of John the Immerser." So immediately, with diligence, she entered to the king, and made her request, saying, "I want you to give me right away the head of John the Immerser on a platter." Now the king became exceedingly sorrowful, but because of the oaths and those lying back at the table with him, he didn't want to reject her. So immediately the king dispatched a bodyguard and required him to bring his head. So he went away and beheaded him in the jail, and brought his head on a platter and gave it to the girl, and the girl gave it to her mother. Then, when his students heard about it, they came and took away his corpse and placed it in a tomb. Then the dispatched envoys gathered together with Jesus and reported to him everything, what they had done and what they had taught. Then he said to them, "You must come on by yourselves privately to a place in the wasteland and must rest briefly." For there were many who were coming and going away, so they didn't yet have an opportunity to eat. So they went away in the ship into a place in the wasteland privately. Now many noticed them going away and recognized them, so they ran together there on foot from all the cities, and got there before them. When Jesus came out and noticed a great crowd, he felt compassion for them, because they were like sheep without a shepherd. So he began to teach them many things. Now when the hour had already become late, his students came to him and began saying, "This place is a wasteland, and the hour is already late. You must dismiss them, so they might go away into the surrounding fields and villages and buy biscuits for themselves, because they don't have anything to eat." Yet in response he said to them, "You must give them something to eat." Then they said to him, "Should we go away and buy 200 number 80 Roman coins worth of biscuits and give it to them to eat?" Now he said to them, "How many biscuits do you have? Go and see." Then, when they knew, they said, 5, and 2 fish. So he required them to have them all recline, company by company, on the green grass. So they leaned back, plot by plot, by hundreds and by 50s. Then, taking the 5 biscuits and the 2 fish, he looked up into heaven and gave the blessing. Then he broke up the biscuits and kept giving them to the students, so that they might place them before them. Then he divided the 2 fish among all of them. They all ate and were satisfied. Then they picked up 12 large basketfuls of fragments, and what was left of the fish. Now there were 5,000 men, plus women and children, who ate the biscuits. Then he immediately compelled his students to step into the ship, and to precede him to the other side of Bethsaida, where he was dismissing the crowd. While he was dismissing the crowd, then, when he had said goodbye to them, he went away onto the mountain to pray. Now as evening, 6 to 9 p.m. came on, the ship was in the middle of the sea, or lake, and he was alone on the land. Then he noticed them being tortured in rowing the ship, for the wind was contrary to them. It was about the 4th watch, 3 to 6 a.m., of the night, when he came towards them, walking on the sea, and he was willing to pass them by. Yet when they noticed him walking on the sea, they had the impression that he was a phantom, and they yelled out, for they all noticed him and were disturbed. Yet he immediately spoke with them and said to them, "Have courage, it is I. Stop being afraid." Then he stepped up into the ship to them, and the wind dropped off. And they were very amazed at themselves, for they hadn't understood about the biscuits. Rather, their hearts had been calloused. Then, when they had gone across to the other side, they came to land at Gennesaret, and beached there. Now when they came out of the ship, the people immediately recognized him, and ran around the whole country, and began to carry around on stretchers those who had an illness, to where they were hearing that he was. So wherever he went, into villages or cities or fields, they were placing those who were weak or sick in the marketplaces. Now they were encouraging him just to let them touch the tassel of his outer garment, and all those who touched it were saved from their illnesses. Mark chapter 7. Now when the Pharisees and some of the Bible scholars had come from Jerusalem, they gathered around him, and they noticed that some of his students were eating biscuits with contaminated, that is, unwashed hands. For the Pharisees and all of the Jews hold to the tradition of the older ones, and don't eat unless they have washed their hands with their fist. And they don't eat things from the marketplace unless they have been sprinkled. And there are many other things that they have accepted to hold, like the immersing of cups, pitchers, and bronze containers. So the Pharisees and the Bible scholars asked him, "Why don't your students walk according to the traditions of the older ones, rather than eat their biscuit with unwashed hands?" Yet he said to them, "Isaiah prophesied ideally about you hypocrites, as it has been written, 'These people honor me with their lips, yet their hearts are a distance away from me. Now they are meaninglessly devoted to me, teaching as teachings the directions of humans.'" Isaiah 29 verse 13. Having left Almighty's direction, you hold to the tradition of humans. Then he was saying to them, "You are doing an ideal job of rejecting Almighty's direction, so that you might keep your tradition. For Moses said, 'You must be continually honoring your father and your mother,' and whoever is Exodus 20 verse 12. And whoever says anything bad about his father or mother must complete in death, or die. Exodus 21 verse 17. Yet you say, if a human says to his father or mother, 'Whatever you might have benefited from me has been given as a korban,' or treasury contribution, which is a present to Almighty, and you no longer let him do anything for his father or mother, invalidating Almighty's word by your tradition that you have delivered over, and you are doing many such similar things." Then he called the crowd to him again and began saying to them, "Every one of you must hear me and understand. There isn't anything that goes into a human from outside that can contaminate him. Rather, it is those things that come out of a human that contaminate a human." No verse 16. Then he entered into a house away from the crowd. His students began asking him about the illustration. So he said to them, "Are you so unintelligent? Don't you yet comprehend that everything that goes into a human from the outside can't contaminate him? Because it doesn't go into his heart, but into his belly, and goes out into the toilet. This makes all the foods clean." Yet he was saying, "It is what comes out of a human that contaminates a human. For from the inside, out of the heart of humans, come out bad reasonings, non-marital sexual intercourses, thefts, murders, extramarital sexual intercourses, greed, wickedness, fraud, carousing in the dark, a wicked eye, slandering, pride, and unintelligence. All these wicked things come out from the inside and contaminate a human." Now he rose up from there and went away into the boundaries of Tyre and Sidon, in Phoenicia, Then, when he entered into a house, he didn't want anyone to know it, yet he couldn't escape their notice. But immediately a woman, whose little daughter had an unclean spirit, heard about him and entered and fell down at his feet. Now the woman was a non-Jew, a native of Syrian Phoenicia, West Lebanon, and she kept asking him to throw the demon out of her daughter. So he was saying to her, "You must let the children be satisfied first, for it isn't ideal to take the children's biscuit and throw it to the puppies." Yet she responded by saying to him, "Yes, master, but even the puppies underneath the table eat from the little children's scraps." Now he said to her, "Because of this saying, go, the demon has come out of your daughter." Now when she went away to her house, she found the little girl, who had been laid on the couch, and the demon had come out. Then he again went out of the boundaries of Tyre, and went through Sidon to the Sea of Galilee, Lake Gennesaret, through the center of the boundaries of the 10 cities region, Decapolis. Then they brought to him a deaf person, who had difficulty speaking, and they encouraged him to place his hand on him. So he took him away from the crowd privately, and inserted his fingers into his ears, and after spitting, touched his tongue. Then he looked up into heaven and groaned, and said to him, "Ephphatha," which, in the native language of Mideasterners, means, "Open up." Now his hearing was opened up, and his tongue's restraint was released, and he began speaking correctly. Then he cautioned them to tell no one, yet the more he was cautioning them, the more abundantly they were proclaiming it. Now they were most abundantly astonished, and said, "He has done everything ideally. He even makes the deaf to hear, and those who couldn't speak to speak." Mark chapter 8. During those days there was again a great crowd, and they didn't have anything to eat. Calling his students to him, he said to them, "I have compassion for the crowd, because they have already stayed with me for 3 days, and they don't have anything to eat. Now if I dismiss them to their homes, fasting, they will faint on the road, and some of them have arrived from a distance." Then his students responded to him, "Where will anyone be able to get biscuits to satisfy these here in a wasteland?" Then he was asking them, "How many biscuits do you have?" Now they said, 7. So he charged the crowd to lean back on the earth, and after he had taken the 7 biscuits and given thanks, he broke them and kept giving them to his students to place before them, and they placed them before the crowd. They also had a few small fish, and after he had given the blessing for them, he said to place these before them too. Then they ate and were satisfied. Then they picked up 7 round baskets of the abundant fragments. Now there were about 4,000 men, plus women and children. Then he dismissed them. Now immediately he stepped into the ship with his students, and went into the parts of Dalmanutha, a village near Magdala. Then the Pharisees came out and began discussing things with him, seeking from him a sign from heaven to test him. Then, sighing within his spirit, he said, "Why does this generation seek for a sign? Truly I say to you, and if no sign will be given to this generation, what will happen to me?" Then he left them, stepped into a ship again, and went away to the other side. Now they forgot to take some biscuits, and except for 1 biscuit, They didn't have any with them in the ship. Then he began cautioning them, saying, "You must see and be continually looking out for the leavened dough of the Pharisees and the leavened dough of Herod." Then they began reasoning with one another, saying, "Is it because we don't have any biscuits?" Now he knew this, and said to them, "Why are you reasoning that you don't have any biscuits? Don't you yet comprehend or understand? Are your hearts calloused? You have eyes, don't you observe? You have ears, don't you hear? Don't you also remember when I broke the 5 biscuits for the 5,000? How many large baskets full of fragments did you pick up?" They said to him, 12. "And when I broke the 7 for the 4,000? How many round baskets filled with fragments did you pick up?" Then they said, 7. Then he was saying to them, "How is it that you don't yet understand?" Then they came into Bethsaida, and they brought a blind person to him, and encouraged him to touch him. So he took hold of the blind person's hand, and took him outside the village. Then he spit on his eyes, placed his hands on him, and began asking him, "Do you observe anything?" Then he looked up and was saying, "I'm observing humans, but I see them like trees walking about." After this, he again placed his hands on his eyes. Then he could observe clearly, and was restored, and he began looking at everything distinctly. Then he dispatched him to his home, saying, "You must not enter into the village." Then Jesus and his students went out into the villages of Caesarea Philippi, a city in Iturea, southwest Syria. Now on the way he began asking his students, saying to them, "Who do humans say that I am?" Now they said to him, "John the Immerser, and others Eliah, yet others one of the prophets." Then he began asking them, "Yet who do you say that I am?" In response, Peter said to him, "You are the Anointed One." Then he warned them not to tell anyone about him. Then he began to teach them that the Son of Humanity has to suffer many things, and be disapproved by the older ones, and the chief priests and the Bible scholars, and be killed, and after 3 days rise up. Now he was speaking this saying with boldness. Then Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. Now when he turned around and noticed his students, he rebuked Peter, saying, "Go away behind me, Satan, the adversary, because you aren't setting your mind on the things of Almighty, but on the things of humans." Then he called the crowd to him, together with his students, and said to them, "Whoever wants to come after me must disown himself, and must pick up his stake, and must be continually following me. For whoever wants to save his sentient being, his life, will destroy it in the destruction. Yet whoever will destroy his sentient being on my account and for the good message will save it and have life in the last age. For what does it benefit a human to gain the whole world and suffer the loss of his sentient being? For what could a human give in exchange for his sentient being? For whoever is ashamed of me and my words during this era, that is like a wife who has extramarital sexual intercourse, that is, one that worships other mighty ones, and doing things that are wrong. The Son of Humanity will also be ashamed of this person when he comes in the esteem of his Father with the pure messengers at the beginning of the last age. Mark chapter 9. Then he was saying to them, "Truly I say to you, there are some of those standing here who shall under no circumstances taste death until they notice Almighty's kingdom after it has come into power. And they did notice it. Matthew 28, verses 17 through 18. Then, after 6 days, Jesus took aside Peter, James, and John, and took them up onto a high mountain privately by themselves. Then he was transformed in front of them, and his garments became like white, glistening such as no launderer on earth can make them white like this. Now Eliah, together with Moses, was seen by them, and they began conferring with Jesus. Then, in response, Peter said to Jesus, "Rabbi, teacher, it is ideal for us to be here. Now, let's make 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Eliah." For he wasn't aware of how to respond, for they had become terrified. Now a cloud came and overshadowed them, and a voice came out of the cloud. "This is my dearly loved Son. You must be continually hearing him." Then suddenly, as they looked around, they noticed no one with them. They noticed no one with them any longer except only Jesus. Now as they were descending from the mountain, he cautioned them not to relate to anyone what they had noticed, except when the Son of Humanity had risen up from among the dead. So they held the saying among themselves, discussing what "to rise up from among the dead" might mean. Then they began asking him, saying, "Why do the Bible scholars say that Eliah has to come first?" Malachi 4, verse 5. Yet he began affirming to them, "Eliah does come first and restore everything. Now, how has it been written about the Son of Humanity? That he should suffer many things and be treated with contempt?" Musical Composition 22, Isaiah 53, Daniel 9, verse 26, and Zechariah 13, verse 7. But I say to you that Eliah has also come, and they did whatever they were wanting to him, just as it has been written about him. Now when they came to the students, they noticed a great crowd around them, and some Bible scholars having a discussion with them. Now immediately, when they noticed him, the entire crowd was utterly shocked and ran towards him to greet him. Then he asked them, "What are you discussing with them?" Now one of the crowd responded to him, "Teacher, I brought to you my son, who has a spirit that makes him unable to speak. And wherever it takes him down, it tears at him, and he foams at the mouth and grinds his teeth, and is withering away. So I told your students to throw it out, but they weren't strong enough." Now in response, he said to them, "Oh, what an unbelieving generation! How much longer shall I be with you? How much longer shall I tolerate you? Bring him to me." So they brought him to him. Now when the spirit noticed him, it immediately threw him into a violent convulsion, and he fell on the earth and began rolling around, foaming at the mouth. Then he asked his father, "How long a time has it been since this came to him?" Now he said, "From a little boy, and it has often thrown him both into fire and water to destroy him. But if you can in any way have compassion for us and help us." Now Jesus said to him, "Why if you can? Everything is possible for the one who is continually having faith." Immediately the little boy's father, yelling, began saying, "I believe, be helping me with my unbelief." Now when Jesus noticed that the crowd was running together, he rebuked the unclean spirit, saying to it, "Spirit, that makes him unable to speak and hear. I require you, you must come out of him, and don't ever enter into him again." Then, after yelling and throwing him into a great convulsion, it came out. Then he became like dead, so that the majority said that he had died. Now Jesus took hold of his hand and woke him up, and he rose up. Then, when he entered into a house, his students began asking him privately, "Why couldn't we throw it out?" Then he said to them, "This type can come out by nothing except by prayer." Then, when they came out from there, they were going along through Galilee, and he didn't want anyone to know it, for he was teaching his students and saying to them, "The Son of Humanity is to be delivered over into the hands of humans, and they will kill him, and 3 days after he has been killed, he will rise up." Yet they were ignorant about this declaration, and were afraid to ask him. Then they came to Capernaum, Jesus' hometown, and after he was in the house, he began asking them, "What were you reasoning about on the road?" Yet they were silent, for on the road they had talked with one another about who was the greatest. So after he had sat down, he summoned the 12 and said to them, "Whoever wants to be first must be continually last of all, and the servant of all." Then he took a little child and stood it among them, and hugging it in his arms, he said to them, "Whoever welcomes one of such little children, using my name, Jesus, welcomes me. And whoever welcomes me doesn't welcome me, but the one who has dispatched me." John affirmed to him, "Teacher, we noticed someone throwing out demons in your name, Jesus. So we tried to forbid him, because he wasn't one of our followers." Yet Jesus said, "You must stop forbidding him, for no one who will do a powerful work using my name will then be able to quickly say anything bad about me. For whoever isn't against us is for us. For whoever gives you a cup of water to drink in my name, because you belong to the Anointed One, truly I say to you, shall by no means lose his wages. Now, whoever causes one of these little ones who have faith in me to trip, it would be ideal for him if, rather, he had a millstone that requires a donkey to turn it, encircling his neck, and had been thrown into the sea. If your hand causes you to trip, you must chop it off. It would be ideal for you to enter into life maimed than to have 2 hands and to go away into Gehenna, into the unextinguished fire, the destroying fire of the second death. Revelation 20 verses 14 through 15. No, verse 44. If your foot causes you to trip, you must chop it off. It would be ideal for you to enter into life lame than to have 2 feet and be thrown into Gehenna. This is symbolic of the destroying fire of the second death. No, verse 46. If your eye causes you to trip, you must throw it out. It would be ideal for you to enter into Almighty's kingdom one-eyed than to have 2 eyes and to be thrown into the Gehenna of fire. This is symbolic of the destroying fire of the second death. Fire isn't going out until everything in it is destroyed. Isaiah 66 verse 24. For everyone will be salted with fire. Salt is ideal for flavoring and preserving. Yet if the salt becomes unsalty, how will you season it? You must be continually having salt, a flavoring and preserving substance, inside yourselves, and must be continually at peace with one another. Mark chapter 10. Now when he rose up, he went from there into the boundaries of Judea, and on the other side of the Jordan River. And again crowds came together to him, and again, as was his custom, he began teaching them. Then some Pharisees came to him and tested him, asking him if it was allowed for a husband to dismiss a wife. Now in response, he said to them, "What did Moses direct you?" Yet they said, "Moses permitted us to write a scroll of divorce and to dismiss her." Deuteronomy 24, verse 1. Yet Jesus said to them, "In view of the hardness of your hearts, he wrote this direction for you. Yet from the beginning of creation, he made them male and female." Genesis 1, verse 27. On this account, a human must leave his father and mother, and the two will be one flesh. Genesis 2, verse 24. So that they are no longer two, but one flesh. So then, what Almighty has connected together, a human must not separate. Then, when they were in the house, the students began asking him again about this. So he said to them, "Whoever dismisses his wife and marries another is having extramarital sexual intercourse against her. And if she dismisses her husband and marries another, she is having extramarital sexual intercourse." Now they were bringing little children to him, so that he might touch them. Yet the students rebuked them. Yet when Jesus noticed this, he resented it and said to them, "Let the little children come to me, and stop forbidding them, for Almighty's kingdom belongs to ones such as these. Truly I say to you, whoever doesn't accept Almighty's kingdom, like a little child, shall under no circumstances enter into it." Then, hugging them in his arms, he was blessing them, placing his hands on them. Now, as he was going out onto the road, a man ran towards him, fell on his knees before him, and began asking him, "Good teacher, what shall I do to inherit a share of the life in the last age?" Now Jesus said to him, "Why do you call me good? No one is good except one, Almighty. You are acquainted with the directions. You must not murder. You must not have extramarital sexual intercourse. You must not steal. You must not give false testimony. You must not cheat. You must be continually honoring your father and mother." Exodus 20, verses 12 through 16. Now he affirmed to him, "Teacher, I have maintained all of these from my youth." Now Jesus looked at him, loved him, and said to him, "You are still in need of one thing. You must go sell whatever you have and give the money to the poor. Then you will have treasure in heaven. Then you must come here and be continually following me." Yet he became somber at this saying, and went away being sorrowful, for he had many acquisitions. Then Jesus looked around and said to his students, "How difficult it will be for those who have money to enter into Almighty's kingdom." Now the students were shocked at his words. Yet again, in response, Jesus said to them, "Children, how difficult is it to enter into Almighty's kingdom? It is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a sewing needle than for a rich person to enter into Almighty's kingdom." Now they were abundantly astonished and said to him, "So who can be saved from destruction?" Now Jesus looked at them and said, "With humans it is impossible, but not with Almighty, for everything is possible with Almighty." Peter began to say to him, "Notice, we have left everything and have followed you." Jesus affirmed, "Truly I say to you, There is no one who has left a house, or brothers or sisters, or mother or father, or children or fields on my account, and on the account of the good message, who shall not get back 100 times over now in this time period, houses, and brothers, and sisters, and mothers, and children, and fields, with persecutions. And in the coming age, life in the last age. Yet many of the first will be last, and the last first. Now they were on the road going up to Jerusalem, and Jesus was preceding them, and they were shocked. Yet those who followed were afraid. So he took the 12 aside again, and began to tell them what was about to happen to him. Notice, we are going up to Jerusalem, and the Son of Humanity will be delivered over to the chief priests and the Bible scholars, and they will condemn him to death. Then they will deliver him over to the pagans, and they will mock him and spit on him, and afflict him with lashes, and kill him. Then after 3 days he will rise up. Now James and John, Zebedee's sons, came to him and said to him, Teacher, we want you to do for us whatever we request from you. Yet he said to them, What do you want me to do for you? Now they said to him, Grant us that we might sit in your esteem, one on your right and one at your left. Yet Jesus said to them, You aren't aware of what you are requesting. Are you able to drink from the cup that I'm going to drink, or to be immersed in the immersion in which I'm going to be immersed? Yet they said to him, We are able. Yet Jesus said to them, You will drink from the cup that I'm going to drink, and you will be immersed in the immersion in which I'm going to be immersed. Yet to sit at my right or at my left isn't mine to give, but it is for those for whom it has been made ready. Now when the other 10 heard this, they began to be resentful concerning James and John. So Jesus called them to him and said to them, You are aware that those who are presumed to be chiefs of the pagans are like masters over them, and their great ones coerce them. Yet it is never to be like this among you. Rather, whoever wants to become great among you must continually be your servant, and whoever wants to be first among you must continually be the slave of all. For even the Son of Humanity didn't come to be served, but to serve, and to give his sentient being or life as a ransom for many. Then they came into Jericho. Now as he was going out from Jericho with his students and a considerable crowd, Bartimaeus, the son of Timaeus, who was a blind beggar, was sitting beside the road. Then, when he heard that it was Jesus the Nazarene, he began to yell out and say, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. Then many were rebuking him to be silent. Yet he began yelling out even more, Son of David, have mercy on me. Then Jesus stood still and said, Summon him. So they summoned the blind person, saying to him, Have courage, get up, he is summoning you. Now he threw off his outer garment, sprang up, and went to Jesus. Then, in response to him, Jesus said, What do you want me to do for you? Then the blind person said to him, Rabboni, my teacher, I want to receive my sight. Now Jesus said to him, Go, your faith has saved you from being blind. Then immediately he received his sight and began following him on the road.